All righty. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of FinServ Tech Oracles. I'm Johna Johnson, and I'm here with my oracular colleague, Jerry Murphy, and we're to share our thoughts on technology and best practices for financial services firms. And Jerry, for this episode, you wanted to discuss what seems to be a real hot button topic, return to the office, or RTTO, which I
Yeah.
did a LinkedIn post about, actually a couple LinkedIn posts about last month. And you wanted to weigh in on what financial services firms should be thinking about it. So let's start with this. A lot of financial services firms are mandating return to the office,
Yeah.
minimally a certain number of days a week, usually specifying that those days are Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Does this make sense to you?
Uh, I think it really depends on the nature of the business. I think if your whole point is if your focus in financial services is high intimacy in client contact, then you probably want people there. If you're doing most of your day-to-day activities and back office administration, all that, you probably don't need to be. I think there feels like my experience with a lot of CEOs at banks, especially, is there's still a lot of these bank CEOs are older, not born with technology, and they still feel like they need to be touching something to controlling it. So I would separate the feels from the reals. What it is you feel like you need to do versus what do the requirements of your business dictate that makes sense for you. And I would prefer people go to the latter as opposed to former attitude. But unfortunately, I think a lot of people are just sort of reacting to what they're used to doing as opposed to what actually makes sense for their business.
Well, I think it makes sense, but in a rather bass-ackward way, I should say, because I think a lot of financial services firms have invested heavily in commercial real estate and worry that the value of that investment is going to go down if the real estate is unoccupied, because it's sort of a, you know, it it's a tragedy of the commons kind of problem. If everybody's real estate is unoccupied, then the value of everybody's real estate goes down, then the value of your portfolio, your company's portfolio, goes down, and then your bonus goes down because your stock price goes down. I don't know that that's actually the case, but I strongly suspect it, because there seems to be an element of irrationality in this mandate to go back to the office. And generally speaking, the reason that people are told that they need to be back in the office is because of productivity, air quotes. And the problem with that is we have the data, and everyone has the data, it's publicly available, that productivity actually rose during COVID. So essentially they're saying, please come back to being less productive for the purposes of productivity, which
Yeah.
makes no sense. But you had highlighted this issue of what I like to call intentionality, which is there are some reasons you need to be in the office. And you had mentioned, if it's client intimacy, if you're meeting with clients, oh, heck yeah, you want to be there in the office so that when somebody shows up, they have your smiling face to see. Are there other examples of intentional use of being together that you can think of?
Absolutely. I think there are elements of collaboration where being face to face is important. I think when any one of us are doing our day to day job, the requirements of most people's day to day job doesn't necessarily mean I have to be there and see you. We could do things like video right now for a lot of it. But one of the examples I had, when I was running my own business is when you're developing new products, new systems, new services, individual people can be doing their elements. But very often, when you try to figure out how am I going to integrate what you're doing in your domain with what I'm doing in my domain, nothing beats being face to face. But the point is, there are times that are dictated by a process that you get together, and that's rarely Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right? It's going to be when the process determines you get together, which is not likely to be some, rhythmic regularity, but it's more when the pace of your project or the needs of your business dictate that collaboration happens. So I think that's some of the challenges. People are trying to artificially force the times they get together at times that actually don't necessarily make sense. And then when you do to get together, you go into your work cube or your office. And in practice, it's not any different than if you're working from home in the first place, except that you've wasted 2 hours commuting to do it.
Exactly. And that's, I think, one of the key elements of intentionality that I think is missing in all of this, because I agree with you completely that just shoving everybody in the office Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday does nothing except boost occupancy rates during Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. What it explicitly doesn't do is enable the kind of collaboration and brainstorming you're talking about. But if you think about what else is necessary, you actually need rooms and spaces that are designed for people to collaborate effectively, which is not just a random open space. Okay, everybody sit at a big table and shout really loud. And it's not, necessarily a place that's full of bean bags and foosball tables, but you have to put some thought and effort into what needs to be there. I would say arguably you need a space that includes whiteboards, that includes the ability to project video and project data, as well as the possibility to do smaller breakout rooms so that, if two of you have to work through a problem together, you can go into a breakout room so you're not hearing the noise from the main room and hammer through your stuff and pop out and share it with people. But the whole notion is everything needs to be designed so that instead of everybody facing their screen, everybody's facing each other when they need to. And I haven't heard of anyone putting that kind of effort into redesigning their office spaces, particularly in financial services.
Yeah, that's true. And again, we did some of that at our company where we use, there's some technology where you can get sort of smart whiteboards that you can write on them, and then you can either print, create PDFs. You can then integrate that with video conferencing, so you can take what's working there, put somebody else in it. So there are some technology that will support different types of hybrid collaboration. But sometimes, depending on the architecture of your building, you might be able to do that easily, or there might be significant redesign that's needed. So not everybody's going to have the ability to easily make those modifications.
Yeah, and I think to me, that's actually one of the key tells or giveaways that RTTO is more about occupancy of commercial office space than it is about productivity, because I think a company that put thoughtful intention towards enabling that kind of collaboration would be more productive than a company that was just simply blindly everybody work from home or everybody work in the office. And I think another aspect of that is training, and particularly our adaptive leadership training, but any kind of training that says, how do you collaborate effectively with people remotely, which really requires special effort on building a shared vision and a shared understanding of the mission that is mostly accurate. Like, you want everybody to be working from the same page. And most organizations don't do that very well because they don't have to. Because if they come in and say, Johna, Jerry, here's our mission, go do it, then they can come by 20 minutes later and go, Johna, you're not doing the mission. The mission is this, not that, and kind of course correct as we go. That's great, but it doesn't work as well in a distributed environment. And I think companies and individuals need training in how to enable a shared vision, a shared mission, a shared objective.
Right. And I think the good news is, for a lot of people, financial services included, is we have a resplendent amount of technology available to us to, customize our environments to meet our business needs. But to go back to one of the words you said at the very beginning, you need intentionality. We can't just be viscerally reacting to what grandpa CEO thinks he wants to do to touch things. We can't be reacting to the CFO saying, well, we've got some utilization spaces on a real estate. Those are elements of your balance sheet and it's elements of your operation. But you got to go back to, what are the tenets of your business? What is it that's going to be driving your innovation, creativity, and productivity? And then with intention, look at those tools that are available and then craft that workspace to optimize for your business. And I think that I love that word, intentionality. I think that people need to be doing a lot more of that.
And with that, I think that's it for us until next week at 0900, right before the markets open on Tuesday. Thank you again for watching and listening.